There it is.
All right, we are live, doing a impromptu sort of late night live thing, and on the real live. I've not done one of these live streams in a while, so thought it'd be fun to you know take a boring Saturday night and hang out with some friends and talk movies with all you guys out there. I've got a couple of familiar faces with me. If you guys are familiar with the Sausage Factory, I've got Cole and Rambo Raph. What's going on, guys?
Hello
so
there.
Boring. Why didn't you start earlier? Oh well. You had important
how you guys
business.
do?
That's fine.
But I had, had some business. I had to go get the Heinekens out of the fridge. So
I feel ill
had to
prepared
make
now.
had to make sure they were chilled. So
No.
Been doing
But,
fine. Just been reading some Joe Bob Briggs books. It goes to the drive-in and goes back to the drive-in. Just been reading those two books that Joe Bob Briggs wrote. Been having fun with those. Those are back from the early mid-'80s, like 82, 83 is the first one. And pretty much when he was writing for his newspaper. So it's been pretty fun going back and reading those. I hadn't read them before, so it's been pretty fun.
oh, that's cool. Yeah, very cool. What have you been up to, Cole? We missed both you guys on the last episode of the Sausage Factory with Michael Felcher, where we talked about our favorite DVD and Blu-ray releases. That was a really
I did.
that was a
watch
really
it.
fun show.
I
Okay.
watched like about 70% of it. Yeah. I mean, he gave some really good information and some good stories and stuff. I don't know. I mean, I probably could have made it if I really pressed myself, but I don't know. You guys had enough people there covering it. So it's not my thing to listen to other people. I'm there to talk.
To talk and contribute as
Yeah,
only you can.
Yeah.
As only
No,
you
but
can.
no, he seemed really cool. So seemed like it was a pretty successful show, even without me somehow. You beat the odds.
I know. I can't. I was scared. I was scared for a while. I just didn't think it would fly. And it
Well,
did.
I mean, Orc missing it is apparently put us into a state of turmoil. I mean, that was a show he really couldn't afford to miss, and he missed it, and look what happened.
I know. It's been absolute chaos in Sausage Factory Nation. Just the speculation has been rampant with Orc's status. Is he alive? Is he dead? Has he been fired? Where is he? What's going on?
I mean, I talked to him today, but he wouldn't give me any straight answers. He was very evasive.
Well, I mean, he's
yeah. Go ahead.
He's probably had. There is that gag order. There's the gag order. So I mean, he really can't say too much.
That's true.
Fair enough.
So
Witness protection type of thing.
there you go.
Wouldn't be surprised.
We're gonna say Rambo.
No, I was noticing on your post on Facebook a couple of those names I recognized who was talking about Org. Those are pretty much the same people. They just have different
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
The comments are so similar that I'm pretty sure it's not quite the mass panic they want it to seem like. But hey, I don't mind playing along.
Yeah.
Because it's the same people that comment to me. Because it's like if I like a movie, it's like they'll say the exact same thing. Blah 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 blah. This movie sucks for this. Expendables 3 was good. They always mention that. But it's the same one, and then they always start their account that day, and they write the same one, and this is like in a span of like a week or two. So it's like very smart people.
Yeah,
very
I'm
clever.
sure.
Yeah. But you've got to. I mean,
use your energy, but
you've got to wonder about not just the mentality, but the amount of time that people have on their hands that they can create multiple. I mean, you can't just create a YouTube account. You have to create a Google account. I mean, that's
password.
That's not. Yeah, I mean, you've got to have a lot of time on your hand to create. And this person has created multiple accounts. So I mean,
I've been there. I've had time on my hands, but I've not decided to use it that way. I've certainly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can use free time constructively, like tonight, and do a live stream, Or you can create multiple Google accounts to spam the Sausage Factory. You know?
Yeah. Well,
That's
I'm not really
that's
sure what the
really
end
being
game of
bored.
that is. Like, I don't know if that's because they like us or they dislike us. It's hard to tell. Like, I mean, because I get it. For some people, thumbs downing us isn't quite as satisfying as they want it to be. So maybe they had to go the extra mile, which is fine. Everybody's free to express themselves. But this might not be that. This might be some misguided positivity that I'm not picking up on.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they're legitimately concerned,
Yeah.
and this is the only way they think, hey, I've got to find out answers. I've got to spam these guys and everybody who watches their show. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
well,
I love how, like, yeah, it's all the other comments, too. These people get asked,
yeah,
just in case.
it's like if you commented on that one, I forget what show it was. You got a reply asking you what's up with with Orc.
Yeah. It's the movies that never
So,
happened one.
yeah,
Movies
okay, yeah.
that never happened show. It just, we had no idea what we were in store for. But anyway,
Yeah.
hopefully we'll sort this whole orc thing out.
Let's hope so. That next week, next Thursday, it will be sorted out. I hope. I hope. I certainly hope. So, but we were talking a little bit before the show about the new Cloverfield movie, and I did a review of it in which I just didn't like it. I didn't care for it. It wasn't my thing. I knew very well that it was not going to be a direct sequel to Cloverfield, and I was still disappointed because I don't know, it felt like to me it gave everything away too early, and yet it still tried to reveal things that you already knew, which to me just felt repetitive and unneeded, and then that ending was like, okay, you've given me all this information up to now, and then you leave me with that just WTF last act of the movie. And I didn't like it, and that was that video of mine has gotten just a slew of thumbs down. So I'm assuming a lot of people really really like that movie.
I,
um,
well,
I know how that goes.
but
I saw it and I didn't really like it either. Like, I don't think it was bad. I don't
Oh,
hate
okay,
it.
I thought you did like it. Okay.
No, it had things I liked, but overall, I felt like it had some good points to it. But like Pizel said, like the pacing, they moved kind of too fast. Like they had a good setup for like tension and stuff. And yeah, even if somebody who has like only like seen trailers or whatever going in, you still kind of have a fair idea of how things are going to go. But it's still disappointing to see it go that fast. Like I wanted it to be a little more gradual, and yet it's like almost from like minute one, it's like okay, it's sort of like a race against the clock here, and the characters are going to make these choices right off the bat instead of I wanted it to be more of a gradual slide type thing. I mean, I was imagining something more tension filled. I'm not going to say there isn't tension, but a lot of it is tension that you're like more or less expecting, which I guess isn't necessarily a bad thing. I mean, it doesn't all have to come out of nowhere, but I don't know. I'm not really explaining it too well, but
no, I
but
mean
no,
I
it had good things about it. I mean, I think most people thought John Goodman was very good in it. I think some people are overselling it a bit. It's not amazing. I think maybe some guys have just forgotten about what a career John Goodman's had, because I think a lot of people just think he's never done anything like this before. Yeah, he kind of has, but
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, of course, one of your favorite movies, Peter Lebowski.
yeah.
Argo, he was in that one. I liked that one.
Yeah, but I mean, he has a. It's not much of a movie, but he has a sort of an interesting role because of the way it changes, because of the nature of the movie. In the movie Fallen, you know, if anybody's seen that,
I remember that. Yeah,
about the weird,
Denzel,
yeah, with
Denzel
Denzel
Washington.
Washington. Yeah.
no, I missed that one.
It was the
Oh,
remake of The First Power. Lou Phillips
yeah.
LTP
It's just
fan.
like,
Oh no, never mind. I have seen some of that one. I have seen some of that one actually. Yeah.
yeah. So you get to see
Yeah.
John Goodman sort of do like more of a serious, sort of edgy thing in that too, So I think a lot of people were just sort of like they were more used to John Goodman's comedic roles, and they just thought,
Mhm.
oh, he's so. And again, I'm not trying to undersell it. He is good in the movie, and he's almost the whole movie in a lot of ways because I don't find myself cheering much for that Zoe Deschanel look-alike.
Mary Elizabeth Winstead, I believe, is her
Yeah.
name.
I
Yeah.
don't even know what she's in. She's so forgettable to me that obviously I've probably seen her in
She
some, and I
she was
remember.
in the Thing prequel
Oh well, that's a terrible movie.
I,
So no wonder
I totally
and
forgot about that.
no
Final
wonder
Destination 3. She starred in.
also a terrible movie. So yeah, well, I'm beginning to see.
I I thought she was good. I thought she was good in 10 Cloverfield Lane, but I didn't care one way or the other. I didn't care. I thought she was good in the role. I just didn't care about the character.
So it seemed like the writing isn't.
The writing's uneven. It has its good parts, but then the bad
See who
parts really
wrote
drag it
it.
down. I wouldn't call it
Mm.
straight bad writing, but I would call it uneven writing.
For those interested, it has a 7.9 on IMDb and a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah,
Yep.
people seem to really like it, and I'm not just trying to do my thing and go against what's popular because I don't really hate it or anything. I just don't think it's very good. I just felt kind of underwhelmed by the experience, and I don't know. I don't want to give. I mean, it'd be nice to talk about spoilers and stuff, but we can leave that
There's,
for now. But
there's,
Yeah.
there's 3 writers.
yeah, and that
One
kind
who,
of that kind of shows. That kind of shows, that it wasn't
Mm.
like a singular vision. That maybe you could probably see some parts where like the plot sort of diverges a bit because of maybe differences of opinion or direction or something like that. I mean, I don't know. A lot of people it had focus. I don't want to say it's a completely unfocused movie. It's really hard to articulate my thoughts on it, to tell you the truth. All I can say is that I thought there were definitely some good things about it, but it wasn't enough to save it overall for me. And as Fez says, like the movie really changes for its final act, which I was kind of ready for and kind of not because I was expecting it to like shift, but I didn't think they would show us so much. I thought there might be an abrupt shift and they'd cut out. And I know that annoys a lot of people, but honestly, to me personally, that would have been better. So that's a mild spoiler in that you're not going to get one of those abrupt endings. This ending goes on, and
I would have.
I think one of those abrupt endings would have been better if yeah.
I wish they would have made it more. I wish they would have made it. I wish they would have explained less underground, and even had one of those abrupt endings that explained more. I would have loved it if, like, you didn't know literally right up to the end of the movie whether this apocalyptic event had truly happened or not. Like, you didn't know right up until the end of the movie if John Goodman's character was a threat or not. And I felt like the second John Goodman walked on screen within the first 5 minutes, oh yeah, he's a threat. He's crazy. He's dangerous. So
Yeah.
Okay.
every little reveal that they did from there on, literally to right
It
to
was
the end of the
undermined.
movie.
Yeah, it was undermined. It was just like
Totally
it's like you're not telling us anything you didn't tell us to start off with, and that was my thing. It could have been. I think the bunker should have been longer and more gradual and stuff, and
Oh yeah.
instead, like you said, they because there was great. It's a great setup. It's a great setup for that sort of thing, and I think they just sort of blew their load. And and then there were certain things that I won't call them dangling plot threads exactly. And I know, and I don't want to be a hypocrite because I'm often the type of person that says, I don't like movies over-explaining. I don't believe in holding the audience's hand and telling them everything. But I just felt like there were a few little things that get brought up as our characters find out some stuff that you never really get any sort of definite closure on, and that's just a subjective thing, right? In some movies I want it, in other movies I don't. I felt like, for me personally, I would have liked a little bit more in that way, and in this they just sort of left them hanging, which again doesn't necessarily hurt the movie because that's not the movie's focus. But yeah, it's hard to talk about.
Yeah. Like even I think they even revealed what happened on the surface way too soon. Like within the first 40 minutes of the movie, you knew whether or not something seriously had happened on the surface. So every reveal after that seemed completely meaningless. And then when she gets out onto the surface, it's just kind of like you said, dangling plot threads.
Now, when
Like I wish they'd been less. Gosh, what's the word? Less revealing underground and more revealing on the surface. I would have loved it to be in like a slow burn, you know, characters going crazy, confined, you know, paranoia, you know, the Thing kind of thing. And then, you know, at the very end, like they walk out, and then bam, you know immediately either it's for real or it's not, and then just in the movie.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I feel pretty much the same way. They had a
Yeah,
good
like either
opportunity
like
for tension and all this stuff, and they just sort of zipped through it to give us this final act that, while I guess exciting, doesn't feel very satisfying to me anyway, because I don't know, because it's just sort of too much, and I don't know.
I would have loved it if, and this isn't a spoiler, I would have loved it if Mary Elizabeth Winstead and John Gallagher Jr.'s character, if they had conspired against John Goodman's character, killed him, and then found out, well, wait a minute, he was really, you know, he was the good guy. And then they have to live with that decision, and that decision is what spurs them to want to get out of there. And then, you know, whether they walk out into a sunny, beautiful day and the milkman's there going, hi, or they walk out onto the Cloverfield monster who stomps on them, whatever the ending should be, you know, I don't, I guess, you know, I mean, I had reasonably high expectations for the movie going in, and, you know, I knew it wasn't going to be a direct sequel. I wasn't expecting it to be a direct sequel, but I still just really underwhelmed with it overall. But
I'm not saying nothing with the movie itself because I didn't see it, but I do wonder if they didn't even mention there was a Cloverfield sequel, because even from the title, I think you're expecting that it is some type of creature. So it's kind of hard to go, there'd be no creature when there has been a movie that had a big Godzilla-type creature. So it's kind of hard to even do that. Or go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Well, even the trailer. If you watch the trailer where she walks out and there's that big light, you hear the Cloverfield monster roar. So the trailer is tricking you to believe that it's the Cloverfield monster there.
I didn't notice that. Okay.
Yeah, like when she walks out, like in the trailer, there's the farmhouse and there's this big bright light around it, and then you hear this like roar.
Oh, okay.
Well, you know, that to me would lead me to believe that the Cloverfield monster's there, or you know, I don't know.
I get you.
You know, they're gonna make it a Twilight Zone-esque kind of series where everything happens in the same universe, but it's not. It's the same universe, but it's not directly linked films to one another. I think is what they're going to do. You just know that if you're watching a Cloverfield movie, crazy stuff's going to happen.
Yeah.
So, and we were talking about Cloverfield before the show, and I really liked Cloverfield. Cole said he just didn't watch it because he doesn't like found footage, but I didn't hear your opinion on it, Rambo. What's your thoughts on Cloverfield?
Well, I think Cole hasn't seen it. Like, he didn't say he didn't like it. He's just not big into found footage. He hasn't seen it.
You're right.
Right.
So I just want to clarify. It's not that, for people out there, it's not that Cole saw and didn't like it. It's just he hasn't seen it because he just had no interest.
Not very interested.
But,
plus, I
really
kind of know everything that
sorry,
happens in it. No, I just mean, and this isn't blaming anybody. This is, again, a symptom of my not caring. I kind of know almost everything that happens, at least the broad strokes anyway. I mean, I can still see it to see it, but I wouldn't, you know, I know the ending. I kind of know.
What you heard doesn't interest you.
Yeah, and that too. And I mean, you know, you can never be sure, right? You can be, you know, a movie can sound as out of your depth as you want and blah blah blah, but you really don't know till you see it. So I'm going to admit that right now, you know, because there's plenty of times where you'll hear about a movie and maybe it's a genre you don't usually watch, or it's got set up and it doesn't sound interesting, but then sometimes if you sit down and watch it, it actually appeals to you anyway. So I'm not going to say 100% I know that I wouldn't like it, but it would be it's a tough sell.
But you also have gut feelings too. Sometimes your gut feelings is right. So.
I mean, I did see the big trailers for it back when it was coming out, and it was a big deal, and people talking about it, and nothing about that interested me. And then people who saw the movie would tell me about it, and I don't know.
For me, I did enjoy it. I saw the I think I did see it in the theater. I believe I did, because it is one of those. I forget what movie was front of the very first teaser. I know it was a summer movie. Was it Paramount? I can't remember what movie it was in front of, but yeah, I enjoyed it. because found footage, there are a couple that I enjoy, but there's so many that suck that's kind of, you're like, found footage gets annoying. But
Yeah.
when there's a winner, I really enjoy it. I mean, the couple that I enjoy personally would be the Blair Witch Project, because I had never seen anything like that, and I enjoyed the mythos. I really got sucked into it that summer, collecting comic books and watching Curse of the Blair Witch and stuff. So I really got sucked into the mythology of it and into that little
Mm.
world. There was one called The Tunnel, which I enjoyed because I like the actors. I like again, the sort of little mythology behind it. Uh, Chronicle I enjoyed. I
Oh, I
thought that
love
was
Chronicle.
I thought it was an interesting take on it.
Did not like it. I've seen
Uh,
Chronicle, but anyway.
but yeah, I did enjoy Cloverfield because I liked that it was a monster movie, but it was done in a way I had not seen before. And I liked the actors overall, and I thought it went at a good enough pace. And the problem with found footage is that you always have the plot like that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
That's
This
like
guy won't put the camera down no matter what's going on. He's just like, I still better
exactly,
keep filming.
or even like I mean in Cloverfield, it says that camera must be like the most high-powered camera of all time because it survives everything, rocks falling on it, but yet somehow it got recovered after the whole place I guess blew up, but somehow this footage survived. It's like that's like the best camera of all time.
Mm.
Even when the guy holding it gets eaten, the camera like falls and it's still rolling. So it's one of those things that it's hard to you can get past it, but it's understandable why you shouldn't get past it. But
Well,
I like it for what
I'll
it
tell
is.
you
Yeah,
another
go
reason
ahead.
why I had a sort of bias against it. And again, it's a bias. It's not me necessarily being fair, but it's
Sure.
because okay, so Blair Witch was a big deal, and then it's brought in all these imitators, and most of them weren't any good. But like you said, there were some good ones, and you can at least say the thing about Cloverfield was that at least it was sort of a different idea for a found footage. It was sort of let's take a Godzilla
Yeah.
type and we'll give it like the found footage, the idea of like here's one group of people and their point of view, and that that is sort of unique. And I guess the thing that bothered my bias self about it was like it was sort of like bringing what had been more of like a low scale horror movie type thing into like a blockbuster thing. And I was almost like, oh no, you don't legitimize this. Is sort of how I felt at the time. I was like, I don't want to see a bunch of imitators of this too. I don't want them to go, hey, hold on, the next Die Hard should just be the, and I was just worried, they're just like found footage is like Transformers 5 is gonna be found footage. It's like okay, big action movies are now gonna be found footage, and I was just like, oh, this is gonna open a terrible door. So I had some like hate for the movie in that because I was just like, just because of what I thought it could cause, because it was like here's the new breed of big summer action thriller, and I was like, no, please no, but that didn't exactly happen anyway, but.
Mm. Have you guys seen the trailer for Hardcore Harry or Henry or whatever that is?
Yeah.
Hardcore Henry, yeah. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
Just the trailer for that movie like made me want to throw up. It's all first person. It's all super shaky kinetic action. The guy falling off stuff and running and like even just watching the trailer in the theater. And I'm not somebody who gets motion sick. But like I was like going, oh god, I can't watch this. I'm not gonna be able to watch this
Uh, didn't bother me. I mean that is one of the films I'm really interested in. But it just looks like a fun movie, and I like Sharlto Copley, who's in it, and I look forward to it.
I don't know.
movie.
What's funny is like with a lot of these big action movies, especially the 2000s, I think a lot of people who don't actually play video games and look down on video games will often say, "Oh, the movie felt like I was watching a video game." And I want to smack those people because I just mostly think they're ignorant. But I just mean you have to say it about Hardcore Henry. That's exactly what it is. Is like watching a video game, and I kind of would have to agree on that. I'm like, it looks really neat the way it's shot and everything, and I can appreciate it. For instance, that the first person sequence in the Doom movie. I mean, how long is that? Like 3.5 minutes? That took them like
Yeah.
4 fucking months to shoot. Now, technology has probably advanced a bit since then, but I have to imagine this was a difficult movie to shoot, and I can appreciate it on that level. But this movie absolutely does look like watching a video game, and I just don't know how much that really appeals to me. It's like I can just play a game, but
Yeah.
again, I'll
Yeah.
maybe reserve
Yeah.
judgment, but I won't be seeing it in theater. That's for certain.
Yeah. Like I applaud him for trying something different, but I like just watching that trailer. I was like, oh god, no, I can't watch that. And I'm not somebody who gets motion sick easy. Like I've seen a million found footage movies. Remember, everybody back in the day were oh, Blair Witch makes me sick. Blair Witch makes me sick. It didn't bother me at all. Maybe I'm just getting old. I don't know, but
I can now
yeah.
handle most of that, except I just hate it when they're running and the camera's pointing at the ground. That's like the worst part of any found footage movie. Time to run.
Let me look at my feet while I run.
Yeah. Because that's how you run, isn't it? You look right down at your feet, or you look at the ground in front of you. Like, what are these idiots doing? But then again, I guess it's the camera's no longer in front of their face, so the camera's. In any case, we get the crappy view, and I can't stand that. It doesn't make me sick, but it's just like I can, sometimes if I'm gritting my teeth and I'm tolerating it, that goes out the window once it's like time to run or something. Then I just want to like shut the movie off. But.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's in a lot of those movies, right? A lot of those movies have it's like, okay, time to run because the zombies are coming or whatever it is.
Yeah. Hard to Henry I'll check out because it's a it's a low budget independent action film that I think is at least doing something different. That's one of the things with found footage is always how about we take away the camera and you can do the same thing, then you also don't have to deal with the logistics of camera holding it, all that stuff.
Right.
That's what I've been saying for years.
We're just seeing what the guy sees, right?
And the fact that they're doing this in such a micro budget, I mean, it's $10 million or less, from what I understand, and it just looks interesting to me compared to the other stuff we're getting. That at least makes me curious, at least for that. And there's been some low-budget horror films before. I forget what they were, but they were made overseas. Where Hotel Hell, it was Hotel something. It was like that did that first person. So it's not the first film to do it, but it's definitely the first one that did a somewhat, hopefully, a wide release. I don't know if it's just only a couple theaters or because I don't know if it's a big company behind it, but
it looks like it's going to get a wide release.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Looks like it's going to get.
I'm yet to see the big found footage movie, like horror movie or disaster movie or whatever, where like the camera changes hands. Like, how about the zombies attack a guy who's like a BMX biker and he's going around with his GoPro. Then the zombies kill him. Then one of the zombies picks up the that and it goes on and we get different. Like that would be cool. I haven't really seen that.
VHS2. VHS2, there's a segment that Eduardo Sanchez did talking about the Blair Witch Project. Eduardo Sanchez did a segment in VHS2, which I love VHS2.
VHS2, it's the one I like. It's the one I like.
Yeah,
I like that one. Yeah, I love all the vignettes in that one. But I thought Eduardo Sanchez's was really good, where like you got the biker guy with the GoPro in the zombie apocalypse, and then he gets bitten and turns into a zombie. So he's you see, I thought that was pretty cool.
Except it's just a little segment, right? Like I'd be fine with a whole hour and a half on a bigger scale. But yeah, I forgot about that. But that's true. But
there's one that Barry Levinson made, guy who did Rain Man and such, called The Bay, which is found footage, but it's through many different point of view, taking place in like Chesapeake Bay, and like it's about an entire town overwhelmed by there's like this infection in the water, and it's making people do stuff, and there's the Center of Disease Control, and it's all with footage, but it's like from multiple different point of view. It's not just from one person's point of view. So it's like
I've had that movie.
Yeah, go ahead.
I've had that movie for months, and I've many people have been like, "Watch it, dude, you'll love it. Watch it," and I'm just not sat down to watch it. I've had it for months though.
I can't say I loved it, but I mean, again, it's not the normal. I mean, it was weird that it was directed by Barry Levinson. That was all. I'm like, I never would have thought.
That is weird. Yeah.
Even after seeing it, I'm like, was this really Barry Levinson? It doesn't. It doesn't look like it. I mean, from like Good Morning Vietnam or whatever.
Yeah.
Diner or whatever to Bay.
Our buddy DJ Donnelly's watching the show tonight. He says, "Hey everyone, how is everyone's weekend going so far?" He also says, "I saw Deadpool last night online and I really enjoyed it." That's good, man. I think all of us here. Rambo, have you seen Deadpool?
Yeah, I didn't
Okay.
mind it. Yeah.
Okay. So I think all of us here really liked it. I know I really liked it a lot. I really liked it a lot. So.
Yeah, I liked
Um,
it. It was fun. I mean,
I just hope, I just hope with Hollywood, they're going to go this route where they're going to make, like, I think, the comic book property is a little harder edged. And I hope that they don't just look at the success of Deadpool and go, oh, well, these people just want R-rated movies. Let's give them R-rated movies.
Well, they already do.
Let's,
I mean,
but
the Wolverine 3 is only rated
yeah,
R. Batman vs
yeah,
Superman at home will be rated R.
but I think they're overlooking the fact that it's not just because it's rated R that people are loving it. It's because they gave the fans what we want. So it's like with the Wolverine movie, what are they going to do with it? They're probably just going to make another crappy Wolverine movie where he says the F word a few more times in it. I mean, that's going to be it. You know what I mean? Or maybe they'll be like, well, you know what? Those idiots, they really liked Deadpool. Let's have Rogue put on a strap on and give it to Wolverine from behind. They'll eat it up. You
I
know
don't
what I
think they
mean?
go that crazy. But as I said before, I think as I said on the show, for people that follow comics and stuff, it's history repeating itself. It's the Dark Age happening again. It's just happening to the movies now. It's the same thing that happened in the late 80s, early 90s. Some dark seminal works came out. You had Watchmen, you had The Killing Joke, you had uh, uh, The Dark Knight Returns and stuff like that. And then like in the comic world, you just had people going, oh, and these were dark, serious works that had harder content and stuff than a lot, and put people like Batman and stuff in situations. So then like a lot of like the not just the industry but also the reading public's reaction was yes, more of that. But it sort of missed the point that these were well written good stories that had a real point and stuff, and then we get what we got in like the early 90s and stuff, and we got stuff like Spawn and stuff. I'm not saying Spawn's terrible, but I just mean there was just a lot of stuff out there that just really wanted to be taken seriously because it was violent and stuff like that, and it just came across as something that appealed more to like 12-year-olds, and that's sort of like what comics were when I was getting into them, and that's where Deadpool comes from. Even though Deadpool is supposed to be a parody of it, he became that's sort of what happens, right? Deadpool, he was a direct rip-off, sort of making fun of the DC character Deathstroke, and it was supposed to like, oh look, I'm so dark and serious and stuff like that, and that sort of thing. And so we're just getting that again now with movies. Now as far as comics go anyway, now the movies are doing the same shift, but they're going to miss the point. They're not going to realize, that it wasn't necessarily about that they were dark or whatever. It was just that it was good content, good stories, well thought out. It was just like, oh, and then you get the style over substance stuff that happened, that like Rob Liefeld had his stuff plastered all over in the early 90s, and Todd McFarlane and guys like that, and then you had people like Alan Moore, who was indirectly responsible for it, like just being like appalled and embarrassed and stuff.
He's appalled by everything. He's appalled by everything.
He is, but I mean, he had a right this time. Like, he had inadvertently like triggered this movement because it was full of people once again missing the point. They were like, "Oh, The Killing Joke was so great because you crippled Barbara Gordon. Like, who else can we kill and maim?" It's like, it's supposed to be like a character study and all this other stuff, right? But but then it ushered in at least 10 years of like a lot of like style over substance. Look how violent it is, or how flashy it is, and stuff. And I think now the movies are undergoing the same shift 20-some years later.
I just hope they, and again, I hope they're not missing the point of Deadpool's rating. It's secondary to the fact that they gave audiences what they wanted. Now, granted, audiences wanted an R-rated Deadpool, but they could have made a really bad R-rated Deadpool.
Yes.
They gave the audience what they wanted, and that's why it's a huge success, not necessarily because it's R-rated. So they're going to make Wolverine R-rated. They're going to do a 3-hour Batman v Superman Blu-ray that's R-rated. They're probably going to go back and reshoot stuff for Suicide Squad and make it R-rated. You know.
I mean, that all makes sense on a certain level. It really does. As someone who knows these characters and stuff, but like you said, it's just all about how they execute it. Because I mean,
Mhm.
an R-rated Suicide Squad makes perfect sense. You know, the Suicide Squad, like they're bad guys for one thing. That's the point. It's like the
Hmm.
heroes are bad guys. You know, they kill people and do all sorts of terrible things. You know, but you can still fuck it up completely, even if it's even if they're cursing and killing people. It just all depends upon how well the characters are actually portrayed. We talked on a little before when we talked about Deadpool, and I didn't mind it because they did what they sort of had to do, but Deadpool isn't really that sexual in his humor, and they put a lot of sex in there. Whereas, as far as I know, Deadpool's reaction to sex is more like kid stuff on the playground type thing. Like
Yeah.
he's blissfully unaware of it or ignorant of it, or he just sees it the way like a child would. Not all this like X-rated. He's right into that kind of thing. Deadpool's more like yeah, he's more like silly, innocent kid stuff when it comes to sex. And this, they just played it up all raunchy, which doesn't ruin the character or anything. I didn't think they needed it, but I know why they did it. It helped get some laughs, and it's not like it was all unfunny to me. It was fine. But if you do read Deadpool, he's more off the wall and stuff. And there was plenty of that off the wall stuff going on in the movies. It's not like they missed the point. Like his weird little hallucinations and the music in his head. And I mean, they got a lot of it right. So.
Mm.
But he's not really that overtly sexual, unless you count like Deadpool Max, which I don't.
Are you guys excited for X-Men Apocalypse?
No.
No, I hate all the X-Men movies. They're all garbage. And when I saw the last one, which was the least painful one, Days of Future Past, I wasn't good, but like I didn't hate it the way I hated the others. I was like, okay, that was all right, good, it's over. And then the little sequence comes up towards the end to show us that Age of Apocalypse is coming, and then I just wanted to like smash my TV. So, yeah.
Well, I'm actually I've not been really excited to see an X-Men movie in a long time, but I'm actually kind of excited to see this one because I like the actor who's playing Apocalypse, Oscar Isaacson. So if I go watch the movie, I'm going to go watch it really just for him. So, and I think the trailers look pretty good. It's weird to me how they're jumping
I haven't
around.
seen trailers for it yet.
The trailers aren't bad. It's weird to me though how they're jumping around in all these timelines. Like I think this one takes place in the '80s, and Days of Future Past took place. When did it take? What decade did it take place in?
That was the 70s. I haven't seen it.
They're in the 70s at one point. Some of the movies in like our future and then 70s. Yeah, it like I'm used to that in comics, but since they're setting their own continuity, it becomes its own thing that's confusing. So it's not like I can be like, "Oh, it's like when blah 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 happened in this." There's no reference for it because they changed it. So it is pretty confusing. Because usually it's like, "Ha, I laugh at people that are confused by multiple timelines. I eat multiple timelines for breakfast." But since they're not adapting the multiple timelines I know and just making up even more, I get just as annoyed as anybody else. I'm just like, but that's not how it went, and stuff like that.
It seems like because I mean Bryan Singer has directed all of them but part 3, but it seems like there's such a huge departure in characters from Days of Future Past. Well, no, he didn't direct X-Men First Class.
No,
the guy that
no.
did Kick-Ass directed it.
Right. Yeah.
But it seems like the characters from the first 2 movies, which he directed, with the exception of like Wolverine, are very much different in the last, in Days of Future Past and in this one, especially.
I would say for the better, wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah, I would say definitely for the better.
Because I
But
hate the characters in the original trilogy. I just hate how they're written. I like it's like they didn't pay any attention. It was just like they looked at their picture and then just made up stuff as if there was no information to go on. Like, what the hell? Halle Berry's this really small, angry, pissed off Storm. Storm isn't angry and pissed off, and Storm is really tall and stuff like that. Like they just made really weird choices and things like that. It's like, here's Cyclops. He's the leader of the X-Men. At least the casting physically, he looked pretty good for the part. Oh, the leader of the X-Men, right? Well, he's not popular. Wolverine is. Fuck him. He gets no screen time. Hell, we'll kill him off screen. Who cares? I mean, I just hate that kind of shit. Like, leader of the X-Men, well, he doesn't test well with audiences, so fuck him, type thing. But yeah, I just hate the way the characters are done in the first three, and I'd say
But
the tweaks they made are better. So hopefully
and I
that
felt like
continues at
too,
least.
and I felt like too those first two X-Men movies, and I liked the first two X-Men movies.
Yeah,
They were the Wolverine show. Everybody else was
yeah,
secondary to
right,
Wolverine.
absolutely. Yep.
And that felt like a huge waste because you had Cyclops and you had Rogue and you had these other compelling characters that were just more or less supporting players because
Mhm.
That was
I mean
before they learned, that Marvel
yeah.
Studios did the right thing, which is, with like the Avengers, whether you like the Avengers or you dislike the Avengers, you can't say they didn't do a good approach in that the main characters had movies beforehand, and then once they were in the Avengers, especially in the first Avengers, more so than the second, they did a really good job of not pushing anybody to the background. They made sure everybody had some relevance in things. And I mean, that's not easy to do. And it slipped a little in the second one because they're adding more characters. Like, for instance, they are focusing too much on Tony Stark, and making things too much about him in some ways when they should be spreading it out and stuff. But I kind of get why they're doing that. But I just mean, so years before, yeah, they were just like, okay, X-Men. Well, what is X-Men? Well, Wolverine's the most popular X-Men by far. So the others can just, be, mouthpieces and things in the background for him to play off of. But he's the star, even
Mhm.
though they don't get that the whole appeal of X-Men is that there's a whole bunch of cool characters. But.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's what I was trying to say was that there's such a weird shift. Like it's almost like the first two X-Men are not canon with the last two X-Men, including the Apocalypse. But it's the
Right.
same director because there's such a huge sort of shift
Mostly the same
in
actors.
yeah yeah
Yeah.
yeah. So
Like, I
and
have
I, and I
no
think we
idea. Like, I've never seen Wolverine Origins, but I assume they've just banished that. They just want us to forget it ever happened, which I'm fine with because I've heard it's really bad. I mean, you've got,
I've
like,
not seen
Liv
it.
Schreiber as, like, Sabretooth. I mean,
No, I did see that one. I did see that one, but I didn't see the Wolverine
oh, I saw
because I
The
thought
Wolverine. The Wolverine is painless for what it is because because it is what it is. It is just him. It leaves out the other characters. So at least, even though I'm not happy with Wolverine anyway, at least they aren't bringing other characters into them and ruining it. The focus is just basically Wolverine. Wolverine fights against some ninjas in Japan, and some stuff happens, and he loses his healing. It's not that good, but at least for somebody like me, they're leaving everything else alone. Like, I don't have to watch them, like, constantly murder characters I enjoy.
Yeah,
Uh,
still
the
pretty
the
shitty.
that
yeah, I mean, there's nothing good about the movie, really. I mean,
yeah,
You got
that
Transformer, Silver Samurai, where the hell it was, big ass. Is that what it was called, Silver Samurai in the Wolverine?
yeah, it
The
was weird. Like, so again, Silver Samurai is a real character, but in this, they were just like, I call it the Silver Samurai. It's like something he built or
it's a
something.
guy driving a robot.
Yeah, it's like Silver Samurai was just a guy. He was a real samurai who dressed in silver that had some mutant powers. But they were just like, again, who cares? That's not interesting. We'll just make it like yeah, like you said, like a big Robo Transformer thing. But anyway,
Yeah, Wolverine versus ninjas, and you don't even have him really fight the ninjas. It's like a 30-second scene, and then he gets tied up, and then just pulled away. Give me a
yep.
break. Think Pizza froze.
It looks like he did. Well, the call is still alive at least, so hopefully we won't get knocked off. I'll try to keep us on track, though. I
I don't.
totally forget what else I was going to say if it had anything to do with the. Oh, one thing I really liked about Deadpool was it was a really good depiction of an X-Man in Colossus. It was great. Colossus was so good in that movie. He looked right, he sounded right, he acted right, and that made me happy because before that, I think in like the third X-Men, Colossus is like some American guy that has like 3 seconds of screen time and no personality.
Hmm.
But which was really disappointing. There's just like one part where like what is it? The school's being attacked, and he helps get some kids out or something, and
Yeah, something like that.
something like that. But that was something that was cool about Deadpool. It's too bad they couldn't have shown some more X-Men, and they even pointed out because the X-Men they did show Colossus was to my opinion done very well, and like just the way he interacted with Deadpool and everything, just like the comics. It was nice to see. I don't know though. They say they're going to do another Deadpool, which most people think is the big win for the comic community. I don't know. To me, Deadpool works on his own once. Making a whole other movie about him seems kind of like stretching it. Like the main point of Deadpool is he's supposed to play off other characters, really, not necessarily be the main show. He can be the main show once, like they said, they gave us his origin and stuff. And
the talk is they're going to have Cable, right? It's going to be Deadpool and Cable
right
together. That's the
which
movie.
yeah, and I guess that works because I mean they have a huge long history in the comics together. They've often been paired up in series, so you know I'm not going to start sowing seeds of doubt because Deadpool, for like the most part, was pretty good. So you know why not make a good sequel? I mean, although you know if you take out the fact that Deadpool's as unique as he is, it's kind of not much of a movie. The bad guy, I mean, it's weird. They did actually. Ajax is a real villain, but he's not a very interesting one, and there's nothing very interesting going on in there. And their big showdown at the end is fine. I mean, it's good enough action, but you know, it doesn't compare to, if you ask me, like say the Avengers films, stuff like that. Again, I get that.
No,
It doesn't have the budget or anything, but I just mean you can write out stuff. You can still write stuff that doesn't necessarily have aliens crashing into the, you know, coming down from the sky. That has to be exciting.
Right.
It's sort of like a generic action movie climax type thing. It's like, we've got the girl, here's my soldiers, and this is going to happen, with some other stuff thrown in, but not bad.
Yeah.
Are you back?
Sorry,
Back.
guys, I lost connection. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah, what were we talking about?
Yeah, it asked about X-Men, Days of Apocalypse. You liked the trailer.
Oh, yeah.
Cole was talking about the X-Men movies and then Deadpool. And he was just talking about how, you know, there's talks of a sequel to Deadpool. And I mentioned how there's talking about bringing Cable into it, which I haven't read the comments, so I don't know much about Cable. But I did hear the name Dolph Lundgren at the end credits, so
Yeah.
if you get the Dolph
I'd
there,
watch that.
Yeah.
I'd watch that.
you get the Dolph.
I mean, Cable's such a complicated character. I'm sure they'll really simplify him. Because if you try to like do like what Cable really is in a movie, it would take like 17 movies.
Okay.
Because I'll just tell you. I won't even give you a history. I'll just tell you who Cable is. So Cable is Nathan Dayspring Summers. He comes from the year 3999. However, he was born in our time. He's the son of Cyclops, and not Jean Grey. He's the son of Cyclops and Madeline Pryor, who, as it turns out, he didn't know at the time, was a clone of Jean Grey created by Mr. Sinister. And then, when he's a baby, he gets infected by something called the techno-organic virus, which would basically eat him and kill him. But then, to save him, he's sent into the future where there will be a cure. And then he actually winds up for 12 years, his first 12 years of his life, being raised by Rachel Summers, or Rachel Grey, who is an alternate timeline, completely different alternate timeline, daughter of Scott and Jean, that existed in the Days of Future Past timeline, by the way. That's where she comes from. But then it's now in the main Marvel universe and has been ever since. So, yeah, that's Cable. And then at some point when he gets like old, when he's like in his 50s or whatever, it's the first time. In the future he's from, the 3099. It's a future that's basically ruled by Apocalypse. And the first time he comes back, it has to do with that. He's trying to do something to stop Apocalypse from getting where it is. And when he first comes back, you know, the X-Men don't know who he is. Scott does not know that's his son or anything like that. So I just mean, imagine trying to put that in a movie. I mean, whoa.
Yeah. Sounds complicated.
Yeah. Pretty complicated. But yeah, the X-Men, it wouldn't be X-Men without time travel. They do it more than like anybody.
Oh, well, have you guys seen any good movies lately?
I saw the movie I saw in theaters before Cloverfield was Michael Moore's movie, Where to Invade Next, which wasn't what I thought it was going to be, but I really liked it. Because when I first heard like the title and saw like little clips of it was called Where to Invade Next, I thought it was going to be like some sort of expose about, you know, how the U.S., you know, their policy of invading countries and, you know, how various countries in the U.S. have profited from that and also the fallout it's had and stuff like that. I thought it was going to be about that. It's not about that at all. It's actually just about him going to other countries